you doing with the money you're making? And I don't mean, are you paying bills? Are you saving? Are you putting money in your 401k? Those things matter, but I am talking about money that's left after you have taken care of what you need to take care of. Because I think there comes a point in a woman's financial journey where the conversation really it has to change. At first, you are trying to figure out how to make money, right? You learn how to do that. Then you got that part figured out. You are earning more. Maybe your career is going well. Maybe you have a business. Maybe your household is doing very well financially. You have that discretionary income. And then comes a completely different question. Now, what do I do with the money that I am making? Because earning money and building wealth are not necessarily the same thing, in my opinion anyway. That's the conversation I want to have in today's video. If you're entering your wealth building season, I want you to start thinking beyond how much money you can make and start understanding what your money can do after you make it. This is actually a conversation that I had to have with myself. I've been making money online for years. I've built businesses, I've sold books, I've created digital products, I've earned money from content. I've learned how to take something I know and turn it into income. So, making money online wasn't a brand new concept for me anyway, but I started learning about e-estate and tokenized real estate, and it opened up a whole different conversation that I'm having. And so the question became, okay, Sharita, you're making money. What are you doing with it? Okay, what are you actually doing with it? And I had to think about that because I knew how to create income, but I hadn't spent nearly as much time learning about assets and understanding how I could take some of the money I was already creating and put it into something that could potentially produce alongside me. That right there, that's different. And this is one of the reasons I've become so interested in a wealth education. I don't just want to know how to make another dollar, okay, which is good. It's good to make some money. But I want to understand what to do with the dollar once I have it. How do I build assets? How do I build a portfolio? How do I think long term? And also, how do I become a better steward of the income that's already coming into my life? You see, those are different questions. And honestly, I think there's a lot of women sitting in the exact same place that I was. You're not necessarily trying to figure out how to survive. You may actually be doing very well for yourself. But what you're starting to realize is that I need to know more about wealth. Okay. So we're going to talk about it, okay, in this video. Making more money isn't the whole goal. The first thing I want us to understand is that making more money isn't the entire wealth building plan. I want you to think about this. Like, you work, you get paid, you spend some, you save some. And then you will go back and you work again. It's like that's the cycle that most of us understand. That's the cycle that most of us grew up to understand. And then there's nothing wrong with earning income at all. Obviously, we need income, right, to survive. But eventually, I think we have to ask, like, what am I building with the income? Because if every dollar I make depends on me going out to creating another dollar, I'm still at the center of the entire process. And this is where learning about assets became very interesting to me. An asset gives you another place to put some of that money that you already earned and let it make babies for you, okay? Making money for you. And that's a different type of conversation. Instead of asking, how can I make more? Now we're asking, how can I build more? Like, how can I build a portfolio? Like, what would that look like? How can I participate in real world assets? How can I position some of my money where there is the potential for income participation. And notice, I'm not saying, you know, take all of your money and put it somewhere. And I'm not saying to stop saving at all. Okay. I'm not saying everybody should make the exact same financial decisions. I'm saying learn, okay? Learn more than where you are, because understanding comes before participation, okay? And you should know what options are out there and that they exist. You should understand how those options work. You should understand the risk as well. And then you can decide what fits into your financial life. And that right there is financial confidence. It's not somebody telling you what to do with your money. It's about having enough understanding to make an informed, educated decision for yourself. The second thing I've started thinking about is, what job does my money have? Okay. I want you to think about your own money for just a minute. Some of your money has the job of paying your mortgage, right? Some of your money may have the job of buying groceries. Some may even be sitting in savings because its job is to protect you if something happened. Some may go to vacation if you have kids. Some of it will go there. There are different purposes for our money. But what about the portion you intentionally are using to build assets? What what's that job? What does that look like? And that's where tokenized real estate became interesting to me. Traditionally, if I were sitting and talking about, participating in real estate, you might immediately think about purchasing an entire property. You got the down payment, you got financing, you got closing. Then depending on the property, you got the maintenance that comes with it and all the responsibilities that just come with managing and owning a property. Tokenization actually introduces us to another way to participate. So instead of purchasing an entire property, you are able to purchase participation tokens connected to the real world's properties revenue. Okay. And that allows someone to begin learning about modern real estate and building a portfolio from a different starting point. That's what I want women to understand. And it's not, you need to go do this today. No, I want you to know that this exists, because you can't evaluate something you've never been taught about. And for me personally, that's where wealth education comes in at. We need to understand traditional real estate. We need to understand stocks. We need to understand retirement accounts. We need to understand digital assets. We need to understand tokenization. Okay. We also need to understand what's changing, okay, in our world and with money that's changing. Then we can decide what different things we're going to build into our wealth strategy, because there are a lot of conversations that are available. And for us, that's simply asking, how much money did I make this month? It's more than just that. We want to know, like, what do we do with the money that we have? Other thing I want you to think about is your portfolio. Okay. This has probably been one of the biggest shifts for me. Instead of only looking at what I'm earning, I'm becoming more interested in what I'm building. And those are two different numbers. Okay. So let's say that you have an extra $1,000. The old question might have been, what can I buy with this? Right? The wealth building question becomes, what can I build with this? How can I multiply this? That's a very different conversation. But maybe your number isn't $1,000. Maybe it's $100. Maybe it's $500. Maybe it's 5,000 or even 50,000. The amount isn't really my point. My point is the thinking. Okay. You are beginning to look at money through the lens of stewardship and long term thinking. And this is also why I don't want you comparing your wealth journey to someone else's. Okay. Please don't compare it to mine. Someone may have $10,000 that they're comfortable allocating towards an asset. Someone else may have $500. Those two women don't need the same strategy. You need to understand your money, your goals, your risk tolerance, okay, and what you're trying to build. And that's why I keep saying education first, decision second. Because once you start thinking this way, you can begin to ask better questions. So instead, you are asking, what everybody else buy, you know, and you asking what am I building? What is my goal? What assets do I currently have? Where am I overly concentrated? Okay. What do I need to learn about? Okay. What amount am I actually comfortable with allocating? What could this look like 5 years from now? Like, these are grown woman questions. These are grown woman wealth questions, same questions that I ask myself. And I think more of us need to be having them and having these conversations and asking these same questions. And I want to be clear about something. I'm not talking to you about this as somebody who has been studying tokenized real estate for 20 years. No, it hasn't even been around that long. I'm learning too. My husband was actually involved with estate before the platform launched. I had the pleasure of having a front row seat to a lot of it, but I didn't immediately participate. I watched. I learned. I was joining presentations. I was here at home asking him questions. And then eventually I found my way into it. I purchased my first property participating in tokenized real estate in September of 2025. Okay. And that experience changed how I look at this, because now it wasn't simply something my husband was involved in, I was participating myself. Okay. I could see my own numbers. I'm making my own money. I could learn the properties myself. I could, just understand what participation tokens are. I could watch how the model worked, and over time, I just really started building my own portfolio. And it's looking quite nice right now, okay? And paying me pretty good. That's why when you hear me talk about this, you're going to hear me talk a lot about education. And I don't want you leaving one of my videos and thinking, oh my goodness, I got to go buy something. No, that's not what I want. Okay. I want you to leave all of my videos saying, okay, I understand something about wealth today that I didn't understand before. Okay. That's my goal, for you to learn something, because wealth to me begins with understanding. And when you have understanding, you know what to do. You start to build more of your money. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, okay, I'm making money, I have income coming in, but I haven't really thought about what comes next. Well, welcome to your wealth building season, honey. Okay. This is where we start learning one lesson at a time. And tokenized real estate is just one of the conversations that I'll be having on this channel. And I believe is worth understanding as we look into modern wealth and the way the technology is changing our access to real world assets. Okay. That's why every Thursday I host a free weekly wealth class where we sit down on Zoom and I teach you about tokenized real estate. I teach you all about participation tokens. I teach you all about the platform estate that I'm using and how this model works. There's no pressure for you to make a decision. I want you to come in and learn, bring your questions, and have an understanding of what you're looking at first. That's my goal. Okay. So if you'd like to join me, there's a link below this video in the description. I'll probably put it in the comments too. Add your name, your email address, and I'm going to send you information for our next live class. And it's live on Zoom. Okay. And if it's your first time here, make sure you subscribe, because we're going to continue to have these conversations about wealth, about assets, tokenized real estate, and what it looks like for women like us to become more financially educated. Okay. Because look, making money is real good. I love making good money. But once you're making it, there's another question we need to have or learn the answer to, and that is, what am I building with it? Okay? I'll see you in the next class.